It is no exaggeration to say that Cyberpunk 2077 was probably the most hyped game in history. 8 million pre sold units, a Game Award show nomination before it was released, people singing its praises like it was the next gospel. This was set up to be one of the greatest games in history, and now it is. On launch, however, instead of seeing an amazing game taking place in a beautiful city, you were likely to see and this. This game released filled with bugs, graphical errors, any sort of glitch you can imagine. It was in this game. As it released unfinished. Recently, game companies have been releasing unfinished games that have been finished later than they were released. On launch, they tend to have missing content, glitches, and sometimes completely empty worlds. We have seen all three of these examples with Halo Infinite, releasing without a campaign and a subpar multiplayer mode. Fallout 76 released with a nearly completely empty world, many glitches, and no NPCs to speak of. And Pokemon Scarlet and Violet had enough glitches that it almost beat the record from the original game, which you can beat in a minute thanks to the glitches. That is how many glitches were in this game. All three of these games now mostly have those problems fixed. Years later, on launch, these games were terrible. And there is definitely solutions to this. For the companies, give games more time. Simple as that. Security Breach Ruin was a game for Security Breach. It was an expansion. And they never really gave us a release date. And yet this game came out a masterpiece. It was a beautiful expansion to a subpar game because they gave it as much time as it needed. Similar story with Poppy Playtime Chapter 3. Poppy Playtime 1 and 2 released within a year of each other, and both of them were considered really subpar, yet Chapter 3, which had 2 years of development instead, was amazing. It gave the game new life that it was losing. And the shining jewel of examples, Baldur's Gate 3 released its alpha in 2020 and was announced in 2019. It did not release until 2024 and didn't really start advertising itself until 2023. And now this game is considered a masterpiece, a beautiful example of how to make a game. And I'm pretty sure a big reason of that is because they gave it as much time as it needed. And this is something that game companies need to start doing in general, as we've also seen a big rise in crunch in the game industry, and that's a huge reason why these games have just not been releasing well. But there is something that the fan base, the people that play these games, need to do in order to stop seeing unfinished games. Don't buy them. Cyberpunk 2077 released a 13 million copies sold. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, 10 million copies. And 20 million players jumped into Halo Infinite. All three of these games were unfinished, yet people gladly gave their money to these companies, and companies aren't going to look at these games and see that players are disappointed when all of them do well. What they see instead is us saying, "We love this. Please do this more." And what they see is money going up to a game that they did not finish, to a game they released early. And until we stop telling them that we are willing to take their unfinished product, they will keep doing it. So we need to stop. We need to stop buying unfinished games.